This is Matthew Kratter's Bitcoin University. Today I want to talk about what I call Bitcoin white paper fundamentalists. You've probably seen them around the interwebs. For example, Afrabiner here. The 2008 Bitcoin white paper clearly states Bitcoin a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. Why is Bitcoin now being used as an electronic store of value rather than electronic cash? Of course, he's referring to this paper, which was published on Halloween in 2008, Bitcoin a peer-to-peer electronic cash system, probably the most famous paper ever written in this area. What Bitcoin white paper fundamentalists never tell us, though, is why the Bitcoin white paper must be the final authority for all things Bitcoin. For example, what if Satoshi himself changed his mind about things after he wrote that paper in 2008 and published it in 2008? What if Satoshi said something in the Bitcoin Talk forum or in a later email that contradicts something in the white paper? Should we not put wheels on airplanes because the original inventor of the wheel had never heard of an airplane? There's another problem with this kind of approach, though, and that's, in my experience, it's almost always a warm-up to something like Bitcoin has failed as a medium of exchange, so buy my shitcoin. Bitcoin Cash is the real Bitcoin. Bitcoin Satoshi's vision is the real Bitcoin. And we can see that, for example, in this comment down here. Because it pays more, nobody spends gold, they save. Bitcoin maxis realize this very soon, so they change the narrative. Those mean maxis changing the narrative. Guys like Roger Ver, who wanted to stay true to Satoshi's vision, there's that word again, were shunned by guys like the op in this video. So when these people are so worried about the title of Satoshi's paper, it's usually to push a failed fork of Bitcoin or some other scam. Remarkably and most stupidly, you'll see, and especially in the COSPA space, COSPA is what Satoshi wanted Bitcoin to be, as if these commenters had privileged access to the brain of an anonymous creator. They truly are delusional. It's especially ironic because this cash that these commenters are so ardently desiring in the comment section is today nothing more than a fiat bank liability. That's what your physical cash is. If you bring a physical dollar to a bank, they will top up your digital account with them because they owe you, because it's a liability of the bank. And the other thing is your bank account itself is just another bank liability, fractionally reserved and ultimately guaranteed only by the Fed's money printer as the lender of last resort. So this is the big problem with cash and fiat as it's traditionally understood, and building your system upon debt like this rather than upon bare assets like Bitcoin or physical gold is a bad idea. If you're enjoying this video so far, I just ask you to help to support the channel. Click the subscribe button. That really does help with the YouTube algorithm. Leave a like, leave a comment, question, suggestion for a future video, and share this video with a friend or family member. So is Bitcoin actually still P2P cash? Yes, of course it is. I can send Bitcoin to anyone in the world and they can receive it using purely open source and free software. None of us needs to ask permission from Coinbase or from Cash App or from any other centralized service if we use the open source tools like Sparrow, for example, or various wallets you can download on your phone. No permission here is required from a banker or a teller or a regulator. So it is true P2P cash. Now, what do I do between receiving Bitcoin into a wallet that I control and then later sending it out to someone else or spending it? What I do is I hodl it, and that's Bitcoin as a store of value. I want to be able to keep my money until I'm ready to spend it, hopefully with minimal diminution of its purchasing power. So for example, if you keep your cash under your bed, it's likely to buy far less in 4 years from now. But if you keep your Bitcoin under your bed, so to speak, it's quite likely to buy far more in 4 years from now. This is the important thing to notice here. The monetary functions of medium of exchange and store of value are inseparably intertwined. You only save money that you reasonably believe that you will be able to spend in the future, and that's why you don't hoard bottle caps, for example, unless you're a kid, but you do hoard US dollars or Bitcoin. I love this tweet from Bitstein. Praxeologically, which just means having to do with the study of how people actually behave, their actual praxis, or how they actually act in the world. Praxeologically, medium of exchange is defined by the intention of acquiring a good for future exchange rather than when it is spent. As such, Bitcoin can already be understood as a widely demanded medium of exchange, and this demand can be expected to continue to grow for numerous reasons. And he quotes someone here, presumably an Austrian: a medium of exchange is a good which people acquire neither for their own consumption nor for employment in their own production activities, but with the intention of exchanging it at a later date against those goods which they want to use either for consumption or for production. So this is how we can see how closely intertwined medium of exchange and store value actually are, praxeologically speaking. You often hear this or see this on Twitter or the internet. No one uses Bitcoin to buy anything, which is just completely not true. Here's a great tweet from Francis of bullbitcoin.com. Just paid my groceries with Bull Bitcoin wallet straight to the vendor's Lightning wallet. Private, instant, easy, a few cents in fees, scan a QR code, and that's it. And he has all this beautiful food from the jungle in Costa Rica. Another tweet from Francis. I love paying lunch with my useless speculative asset that's not money. It's so volatile. Nobody uses it. A bubble too slow, invented by the CIA. What if an asteroid hits Earth? And again, he's just using it here as a medium of exchange, as are many people in Latin America and elsewhere in the world. If you look at this map, you can see that there actually are quite a few people buying and selling things using Bitcoin here in El Salvador, in Honduras, in Nicaragua, in Costa Rica, etc. And this is a great resource which I'll link to in the description notes below. BTC map. You can look anywhere in the world and see where Bitcoin is accepted. And there's no map that compares to this. There's nothing like this for Ethereum or Caspa or anything like that. If you want to know some currencies that almost no one uses as a medium of exchange, ironically, it's those same currencies that stupid shitcoiners are always pushing for at the same time that they criticize Bitcoin for not being P2P cash. These scammy currencies like Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, XRP, Cardano, Caspa, etc. Now we know that there's Bitcoin Beach, there's Bitcoin Jungle and Bitcoin Lake, Bitcoin Island and El Salvador with Bitcoin as legal tender, but where's Caspa Beach? Where's XRP Jungle? Where's Cardano Lake? What country uses Caspa as legal tender? These currencies are either dysfunctional or so far behind Bitcoin that they can never catch up and never succeed, either as a store of value or as a medium of exchange. And yet somehow, according to these people, these shitcoiners, it's Bitcoin's problem that it's not already a global reserve currency, and their special shitcoin is going to magically catch up and do everything that Bitcoin is already light years ahead of in doing. So this is the true delusion of people who use the white paper to try to push their own coins. I would say that the real reason that Bitcoin is not used, at least in the US, as widely as a medium of exchange as it could be, it's because of this law that says that when you spend it, when you sell it for fiat, obviously you have to pay taxes if you have a profit, if it's appreciated relative to fiat, but also when you spend it for goods or services. So this is really something that could accelerate Bitcoin's use as a medium of exchange. At least in the US, we need our politicians to remove the capital gains tax that comes when you spend Bitcoin. This is a bookkeeping nightmare, as well as a strong incentive for Americans to hodl, which is not a bad thing either for Bitcoin. It's definitely a usage as well, and it's a sign that people plan on spending in the future. But the fact that we have this capital gains tax on spending Bitcoin, it's a bookkeeping nightmare, as well as a strong incentive for Americans to hodl or just use non-KYC Bitcoin when they spend, rather than focusing on a strategic Bitcoin reserve. If Trump is elected, it would be much better to focus on abolishing the capital gains tax on Bitcoin in the US, as some legislators have already been proposing to do. We have Lummis Virtual Currency Tax Fairness Act, where they want to add an exemption of $200. So basically, if you spend $200 or less of Bitcoin, you wouldn't have to worry about paying any taxes, and you wouldn't have to worry about the bookkeeping associated with that. So this would be wonderful. This is what we already have for foreign currencies, for example, if you use them in the US in small transactions. And so this is something that should definitely come along for Bitcoin at some point in time. And at this point, when this happens, Bitcoin will really explode even more as a medium of exchange. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the subscribe and like buttons. Hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when I publish my next video. And let me know your questions and comments in the comment section below. Thanks all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.